Hi, I'm Amy from Peekaboo Pattern Shop, and today I'm working on a Surfsuit, and I'm going to give you a few tips on sewing the zipper. So since I'm making a top, I've decided to use the zipper facing instead of a full lining. So the facing is this little piece right here. So you'll be using this instead of the front lining piece. And I've added my inner facing onto the zipper facing piece, and I've marked where the opening is going to be. So I'm going to center that on my top. Your top has a little notch right here to help you line things up to make sure your zipper is nice and straight. So I'm going to pin these together and then go sew them together along this marked line. The inner facing pattern piece has a line on it of where you're supposed to sew. So the dashed line is where you're going to sew, and then we're going to cut it open right down the center and then in towards our stitching line. And you want to cut right towards the corners as close as you can get without snipping through your threads, and that will give you a nice neat corner. So then I already sewed my zipper shield together, so I'm getting ready to put the zipper onto that. So with your zipper, you can either fold the little top corner over, or you can just trim it off with some pinking shears if you want. Just make sure you don't cut off your zipper top, or your zipper will slide right off the end. So make sure you leave that top zipper top in place. So you're going to lay the zipper right on top of your zipper shield piece, and then before you sew it together, you're going to fold this top corner over like this. So the top 1.5 inches of the zipper shield is going to be folded over your zipper, and then I'm just going to baste these together right along this edge. Okay, so now that I have this sewn together, I'm going to snip down the middle. I'm going to go right down the middle through all my pieces. Make sure you don't catch anything else in there. And then when you get towards the bottom, you want to snip in towards each corner. So after you've done that, you can take out your pins. So here's our front piece, our zipper facing, or this would be your front lining if you're doing a full lining. Now we're going to turn the facing or your lining over to the other side of the suit to make our zipper opening. So when you flip it over, it's really not going to want to cooperate. You can try and press it, just make sure you use low heat so you don't melt your swimsuit fabric. I like to just kind of press it with my fingers as best as I can, and then when I'm pinning my zipper in place, I really get it pinned down good so that it stays. So once you have that turned to the inside of the suit, this is what it should look like. And now we're going to go pin in our zipper. Okay, I have my zipper all pinned in and ready to sew. So I like to hold it down with a fabric glue stick, or you can just use a washable Elmer's glue stick. It's basically the same thing. Or if you have wash away Wonder Tape, that works really well. So I do that, and then I pin it too, just to make sure that it is really not going anywhere. So here's the front, and then if we look at the other side, here's our back side. So we're going to be sewing this side of the zipper first, so you're going to want to move this zipper shield out of the way. I like to just fold the top edge over like that, and that helps keep it out of the way. So I'm going to be sewing right along here. I don't want to sew the zipper shield right now. I'm just going to sew right down this edge. And normally you would use a zipper foot, but with this super slippery swimsuit fabric, I actually like to just use my regular foot. I do a straight stitch. I normally lengthen it to about 3.5 for top stitching. And I just move my needle position over to the right a little bit since I'm not using my zipper foot. So I'm gonna sew this side of the zipper first. So when I'm sewing in this zipper, I like to sew really slowly. And if I notice things are starting to try and bunch at all, I just stop and lift up my presser foot and smooth them out, and then I keep going. So when you get to the point that your zipper is in the way, you want to just close your zipper and move it up past the point of your zipper foot so it's not causing any problems with your top stitching. So we're just going to sew down to the bottom on this left-hand side, and then we'll stop and reposition before we do the other side. And I used red thread here for a bit of contrast, but if this is your first time doing this, I would go with something that matches, and then if you make a little mistake, it won't be as noticeable. So we've got the left side done. Now before I do the right side, we can go ahead and move this zipper shield back over where it belongs. So now we're going to start right where we left off, but this time we're going to catch the very bottom of the zipper shield as we're sewing. So I'm going to put this back in the machine and just overlap with that last bit of stitching by about 1/4 inch. All right, so there's our zipper all in and ready to go. So when you zip it up, the zipper shield's gonna cover the top of the zipper. And right now, since we don't have our neckband on, it's gonna be all bunchy over here on the left-hand side, and that's fine, so don't worry about that. So here's the back side. You can see where we caught a little bit of the zipper shield at the bottom. And this is all ready to go. And this protects your kids so you don't have a zipper rubbing against their chest at all, and this protects their chin. You don't have the zipper rubbing right there. Okay, I've finished assembling the Surfsuit and I'm ready to put on the neckband. So I've pinned the center of the neckband to the center back neckline. You'll have some notches to line up. And you're going to want to fold the neckband in half so the raw edges are together. And we're going to curve this around to meet in the front. So it's going to look like this as you're pinning, and then you're going to bring this little curved edge up like that to meet the neckline. So we're going to pin the curve right here, and I like to actually extend the tip past the neckline just a tiny bit, and that helps make sure that I catch all of it. And you're going to want to base this in place first. If you try and just go straight to your serger, it's going to end up slipping and it is just not going to go well. So I pin the front and the back and then stretch it to fit. And I normally just do one more pin, but you can do a few more pins if that makes you more comfortable. So do the same thing on the other side. Got the curved edges that we're going to bring up to meet the neckline. And when we serge the neckband to this side, you can just serge the end of the zipper tape right off. If you're using a sewing machine, you can sew this in place and then trim that off so that it's not sticking up like that. So I'm going to go ahead and baste those ends in place. So I like to baste about the first inch or so, and that just makes sure that it's not going to slip out of place. If you want, you can go ahead and baste the entire neckband to the neckline if that would make you more comfortable before you serge it. So after you've basted it, you can check to make sure that it's going to look the way you want it to after it's serged. This is how it should look once it's sewn on, and you're gonna then fold over and top stitch. So everything looks fine there. If you've messed up, it's just basted, so that's gonna be really easy to just pull that out and try it again. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so now that I have these basted, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the serger to sew on the neckband. Okay, so once you have your neckband sewn on, if you use a serger, I like to take a yarn needle and use that to thread the serger tails back through. And that way nothing's going to come unraveled. Just thread that through and then snip it off. So now I'm going to go ahead and top stitch. Normally when you're top stitching a neckband, you need to use a stretch stitch, but since this has a zipper to get on and off, that's really not going to be that big of a deal. I'm going to go ahead and just use a long straight stitch to do mine. So you're going to fold the whole seam allowance down. You want it to be flush with the top of your zipper shield. So you're going to fold that down and then just top stitch all the way around the neckline. Alright, so there's our finished neckband. Just take care of that thread. And once we zip it up, everything should be laying nicely. The left side's going to just tuck right under that zipper shield.